Hey, this episode of the Nerd Today podcast, we will be reviewing the PS2 remaster, I guess, or the PlayStation 4 remaster of a PS2 game, Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age. Let's get into it. Welcome, one and all, to another episode of the Nerd Today podcast. I'm your host, your doctor recommended dose of nerdiness, aka your Nerd Today, Carlos Rodriguez. Welcome. I'm so happy that you could be here yet again for another episode of the podcast proper. But we are continuing the train of reviews, and we are reviewing the PS4 remaster of a PS2 classic, very underrated Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age. And that's right, I am talking about Final Fantasy outside of Chaos Bringers, which is not yet debuted, filmed, or anything. No logo. We have a concept, a logo. We are excited about episodes. The first episode has been written, and I am currently making my way through the Pixel remasters. But I played and beat finally Final Fantasy XII Zodiac Age last year, so I wanted to review it. And then obviously, disclaimer, when we get to that episode of Chaos Bringers, which will most likely be episode 13 or episode 12, 13 and all, 12 and all. We'll get to it when that comes time. We'll talk about it more in depth and stuff like that. But for now, let's give a shout out to our Patreons. That's right. You can support me at patreon.com/nerdtoday. You can check out the links below. All my links are below of every episode, audio and video wise. But we're going to give a shout out to Hopefully Awesome, Matt and Maggie. They are awesome, as I always say. Brandon, brother, big brother to me, who's always there for me. Thank you so much. Susan, sister from another mister. Always good to see her. Got to see her over the weekend, and always just awesome just to be around her and have her as my friend. Rest past my partner in crime over at Apron Work Podcast. That's right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen, my non-binary folk. If you love professional wrestling, you should be watching the greatest professional wrestling podcast in Philadelphia. Do not look at those analytics. Just assume they are correct. And Jeff Fellshit, thank you so much. So let's get into the review of Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age. Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age. Developed and published by Square Enix. I played it on an Xbox Series X. Story. Enter an era of war within the world of Ivalice. The small kingdom of Damaska, conquered by the Arcadian Empire, is left in ruin and uncertainty. Princess Ashe, the one and only heir to the throne, devotes herself to the resistance to liberate her country. Vaughn, a young man who lost his family in war, dreams of flying freely in the skies. In a fight for freedom and fallen royalty, join these unlikely allies and their companions as they embark on a heroic adventure to free their homeland. Gameplay. Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age improves upon the 2006 classic Final Fantasy XII, now more beautiful and more accessible to play than ever. The HD remaster introduces several modern advancements, including a reconstructed battle design and a revamped job system, with newly implemented trophies and share functionalities, as well as stark visuals and sound improvement. Players, both returning and new to the game, will experience on a grand adventure that spans the world of Ivalice in an entirely new and improved way. All right, spoiler section time. Like many games in the Final Fantasy series, 12 has a lot of twists and turns throughout its runtime, but I wasn't expecting it to be an engaging political story set in a world on the brink of world war. To try to sum it up, some of the political intrigue and plot items would be a disservice to the game, and especially coming from me. There's so much here, it's so layered. It is very Star Wars meets Game of Thrones, but I will say it's an worthy entry in a long storied Final Fantasy saga that does not get enough love and truly deserves to be shouted out from the rooftops more often than it's not. All right, here goes the negative. Of course, with all the gushing comes some negative items that, like the random supernatural threat controlling and manipulating some of the key events randomly appearing at the very end of the story. With a story is strong, we didn't need this added ripple. I think it would have been really good. And this is obviously a personal thing for me that we didn't have any special supernatural thing, especially at the this late in the game when it comes into it. I think it kind of really does a disservice to itself. If it was talked about more earlier, maybe it would have been a little better, and then just it would have been like a weird end boss. But it all around feels strange and rushed, and I don't know. There's the political intrigue itself it seemed really cool, and I did love that. Story side, there is a learning curve when it comes to the core gaming mechanics. You can see with the gambit system the ideas that would later get refined and perfected in Final Fantasy evolved, but it's not all that bad. Speaking solely from my experience, written guides didn't help me understand the gambit system. So as a visual learner, YouTube came in clutch in that area, and once it hit, the game really, truly, beautifully sang to me. Okay, and finally, although Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, does show some aging and has what I would say is a deep learning curve when it comes to the main mechanics. Once it clicks for you, the player, you are treated to a fun, rewarding, and beautiful game that has many of the political intrigue from pop culture icons such as Star Wars in its unique Final Fantasy flair. That's why I'm giving Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, a 4 out of 5 on the Nerd a Day scale. And that's it. That is my review of Final Fantasy 12. Again, as you heard in the final recap there, I think it's fun. I think it's very politically intriguing. I think that's a good crux of the story. But as I mentioned, the negative stuff, the final late game supernatural thing doesn't really click for me. I think it would have been better served if it was just the regular nature, human nature that was the enemy in this one. But it's easy to be, that critical of a game that's still, for the most part, amazing. The gaming system is really interesting once you get understand how to play it and stuff. And it's really cool to do now what I'm starting with this experiment, I guess you want to call it, or a new podcast more so in Chaos Bringers, which we will be hopefully bringing soon. And I can, reveal some info right now. So we are going to be doing a Final Fantasy book club called Chaos Bringers. It would be me, Harv, and Frank. Harv and Frank are from Point in Progress. They are amazing people, awesome homies. We're almost done with like the back end stuff. Like we have an anchor link ready. We have we almost have like a format for like the video podcast ready. The first script is done, which is for episode 1, which should be about Final Fantasy 1. Both me and Frank played the Pixel remaster, and we are really excited to get into it. So that's done. There's so many little pieces in place, but we're almost done. We still need a logo and things of that nature. But we're really excited. So hopefully you can join us with that ride, and we'll have more announcements when we get closer to the launch. But it's a really exciting time to be a Final Fantasy fan, especially with 16 on the horizon and now Chaos Bringers. So thank you so much for supporting me, and thank you for listening or watching. If you are watching, don't forget, go to the audio podcast of your choice, like, share, subscribe, do all that 5-star thing, whatever you need. And if you're doing the video portion, or sorry, the audio portion, go over to youtube.com/nerdtoday and give me a sub, a like, all that jazz. Comment down below on the video. Let me know how you like it. If you like Final Fantasy, what do you thought of 12? Things of that nature. Thank you for watching. As always, I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.